Hi there, I'm Ron Pereira of Gemba Academy, and in this video we're going to learn all about what we refer to as the 10 commandments of continuous improvement. Well, specifically, by the end of this video, you'll know what Kaizen is, as well as what it takes to do Kaizen. And you'll also understand what we refer to as the 10 commandments of continuous improvement. Well, let's begin by answering the question, what is Kaizen? Well, as we learned in the Introduction to Lean video, the word Kaizen literally means to change for the better. Well, Kaizen is also far more than a lean tool or a rapid improvement event as many confuse it to be. In fact, Kaizen is a key philosophy of lean that's focused on making many smaller improvements each and every day. Another way of stating it is that Kaizen is a mindset and a way of thinking that relentlessly challenges the status quo. Well, unfortunately, understanding what Kaizen is and making it happen are two very different things. So, with this said, let's spend some time talking about what it takes to do Kaizen. The first thing it takes is daily practice. While Tiger Woods has no doubt been blessed with amazing talent, he also practices extremely hard. In fact, Malcolm Gladwell recently wrote a book that talked about how many people who excel at something do so not because of talent, but instead because they practice a lot. In fact, Gladwell claims it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master something. Now, whether this is true in the case of Kaizen can be debated, but if someone wished to test this hypothesis, I'm sure they and their company will be much better off for it. And while practice is a must, there are also several other key guidelines that all continuous improvement practitioners must follow. Well, at Gemba Academy, we actually refer to these guidelines as the 10 commandments of continuous improvement. So let's spend a few minutes and discuss each of these commandments in turn. Well, the first commandment is to simply open our minds to change while letting go of paradigms and preconceived notions of how things should be. We must also stay focused on how something can be made to work rather than while it'll never work. Along these lines, the second commandment is to think, yes, we can, if. In other words, when we say something can't be done, it's because we know what will stop us from doing it. Well, as it turns out, identifying the problem is the first step to solving it. We must also remember commandment number 1, which is to keep an open mind. In other words, think of what it'll take to make it happen. What obstacles will you need to remove? So, you see, in actuality, the person who knows why it can't be done often also knows exactly how it can be done. The third commandment of continuous improvement challenges us to never attack people when confronting problems. Instead, we should always focus our energy on attacking problems and poor processes. In fact, Dr. Deming once said that blame doesn't solve problems because problems are due to complex root causes. In other words, the system is to blame, not the person. And since the system is nothing but a bunch of processes, we never want to attack people. Well, the fourth commandment of continuous improvement is to always seek simple solutions instead of complex ones whenever possible. Well, legend has it that during the space race back in the 1960s, NASA was faced with a serious dilemma. Their astronauts needed a writing pen that would write in the vacuum of space. Well, the story goes that after spending $1.5 million on the creation of the so-called astronaut pen, NASA had solved the problem. Well, when the Russian space program was faced with the same problem, they decided on a much simpler solution. They used a pencil. And as you may already know, this story is actually fiction, but the lesson it teaches is extremely relevant for those of us attempting to practice Kaizen. Alright, well, the fifth commandment challenges us to stop and fix problems when we first identify them, no matter how busy we are, since in the end, this attitude will save time, money, and it could even save lives. You see, it's often these small problems that turn into big ones if we leave them unaddressed. Just like a few weeds in the garden can eventually wreak havoc if not removed right away. Next, the sixth commandment asks us to use creativity instead of capital. Another way of stating this is to use our wits over our wallets. As an example, instead of spending thousands on expensive conveyor systems, perhaps there's a way to move the equipment closer together, eliminating the waste of transportation altogether. The seventh commandment of continuous improvement states that problems are nothing more than opportunities. By having this attitude, we're far more likely to make problems visible instead of covering them up with things like inventory and expensive rework. Well, the eighth commandment challenges the organization to ask why over and over instead of who as we work to identify the root cause of an issue. Well, as we discussed in the Introduction to Lean video, simply asking why multiple times may have actually been the best teaching method Taiichi Ohno ever used. Well, the ninth commandment states that the wisdom of many is far better than the knowledge of one. You see, working alone, doctors, as just one example, won't fix healthcare, nor will nurses working alone. Likewise, even the best engineers working in isolation cannot succeed long-term, nor can any single CEO. However, if we stay with the healthcare theme, when our doctors and nurses and other hospital staff members are allowed to come together as one problem-solving unit, nothing is impossible. Finally, the last of our 10 commandments of continuous improvement states that there's actually no final destination on the improvement journey. You see, it's common for organizations to ask, how long will it take to become world-class? And as you might imagine, the only accurate answer is no one knows. But what we do know for certain is that we should all think 10 to 20 years out for what an ideal process looks like, while making a plan for what we want to get done in the next year, as well as a plan for the immediate steps we must take before the end of the day. All right, well, just like the 10 commandments of the Bible or the teaching from holy books of any religion, these 10 commandments of continuous improvement are not always easy to follow. But these 10 principles are proven to be the best roadmap and guide for those of us bold enough to challenge the status quo and make things better. Well, this concludes this particular video, and if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact us. So, on behalf of the entire Gemba Academy team, I'd like to wish you all the best as you progress on this endless journey of continuous improvement.